The sun was dipping low behind the tall palm trees, painting the sky with streaks of red and orange. The market square of Umuaka village was alive with noise, women haggling over baskets of tomatoes, goats bleating, children laughing as they chased each other around stalls. Smoke from roasted plantains and yam floated in the air, mixing with the scent of fresh palm oil. It was an ordinary evening, until Adanna saw it. Adanna was 16, tall and slender, with curious eyes that always noticed what others overlooked. She was helping her mother pack up their stall of vegetables when something strange caught her eye. At the far corner of the market, near the old abandoned shed where no trader stayed, stood a figure. At first, she thought it was a person. It was tall, upright, and had the shape of a human, but its skin was too smooth, pale and white, almost glowing in the fading sunlight. Its face was empty, with dark, hollow eyes and a thin slit for a mouth. Adanna's heart skipped. It was a mannequin. But mannequins had no place in Umuaka. The village tailors never used them. They folded their fabrics or hung them on bamboo poles. So where had this mannequin come from? "Adanna, hurry up! The night is coming," her mother called. Adanna turned to answer, but something made her glance back at the mannequin. She froze. The head had tilted slightly to the side. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked rapidly, telling herself she was imagining it. But no, its hollow eyes were facing her now. Her friend, Chiamaka, who was arranging cassava nearby, noticed her standing still. "Adanna, what are you staring at?" Adanna pointed with trembling fingers. "Do you see it?" Chiamaka turned, squinting. Her face changed. She dropped the cassava from her hands. "Ah, Chineke, what is that?" I don't know," Adanna whispered. They both stood rooted in fear. Then the mannequin's head moved again, slowly, unnaturally, tilting further, as if it were listening to them. The two girls screamed and ran, leaving the vegetables and cassava behind. The market women looked up in surprise, but when they followed the girls' gaze, they too saw it. Gasps spread like wildfire. That night, Adanna could not sleep. She kept seeing the mannequin in her mind, its head tilted, its hollow eyes following her. When she finally drifted into restless sleep, she dreamed it was standing at the foot of her bed. Its mouth opened slowly, though no words came out, yet she felt something whispering inside her head. "You belong to me." She woke up screaming. By morning, the whole village was buzzing with fear. Children who went to the market early swore they saw the mannequin too, but now it was no longer near the abandoned shed. It was standing beside the well. People crowded the square, whispering, pointing. "Who brought this thing here?" one man asked. "It is not ordinary," another muttered. "Spirit," an old woman spat. "This is a spirit." Chief Obieze, the oldest man in the village, arrived with his staff of authority. His face was grim. "We must remove it at once." 4 strong men tied ropes around the mannequin and tried to drag it away, but though it looked light, it would not move. The men grunted, pulling with all their strength. Sweat dripped down their faces, yet the mannequin stood firm, as if its feet were buried deep in the ground. Then, before the horrified eyes of the villagers, its head turned slowly to face the men. Its hollow eyes seemed to stare straight into their souls. The men screamed, dropped the ropes, and stumbled backward. Women wailed and clutched their children. Adanna stood trembling, her heart pounding so loudly she thought everyone could hear it. For a moment, the mannequin's head turned again toward her. That night, another child went missing. Ngozi, a 12-year-old girl, never returned home after fetching water. Her bucket was found by the well, but she was gone. Whispers spread through the village like dry harmattan fire. It has taken her. The mannequin has stolen the child. Fear gripped Umuaka. No one went near the market. The once busy square became silent and empty. But the mannequin did not stay still. Every day it appeared in a new place, by the school, near the church, even once at the foot of the great Iroko tree. And always its head was tilted. Always its hollow eyes seemed to follow Adanna more than anyone else. She felt it watching her, waiting. At night, she could still hear that whisper in her dreams. You belong to me. And deep down, Adanna feared that she would be next.
The village of Umuaka had never been this quiet. The once busy market square was abandoned. The stalls where women once sold vegetables and fruits now stood empty, their bamboo poles leaning weakly as if mourning. Even the goats and chickens avoided the place, as though they sensed something dark and dangerous had taken root there. But Adanna could not stay away. Every day, she felt an invisible pull, as if invisible fingers tugged her heart toward the mannequin. When she fetched water at the well, she caught herself looking over her shoulder, half expecting to see its pale face. When she worked in the farm with her mother, the image of its tilted head haunted her mind. And at night the whispers grew stronger. She would wake in the dark, her skin cold, her heart racing. The room would be silent, her younger brothers asleep, her parents snoring softly. Yet she would hear it, soft, raspy, and chilling. Adanna, you belong to me. Sometimes she thought she saw a shadow moving in the corner of her hut, shaped like a tall figure with a tilted head. She would shut her eyes tightly, praying until dawn. One morning, she gathered courage and told her parents, "I keep hearing it in my sleep. It calls my name. It says I belong to it." Her mother gasped and clutched her chest. "Tufiakwa, evil must not call my child." Her father's face hardened. "You will not step near that thing again. Do you hear me, Adanna?" But Adanna did not answer, for she knew deep down that it was already too late. The mannequin had chosen her. That evening, the village council gathered again. Men with gray beards, women with worried eyes, and youths filled the square. At the center stood Chief Obieze, leaning on his staff. "This spirit has brought fear into our land," he declared. "It has taken Ngozi, and who knows who will be next? We must act before the curse spreads." "What if it demands more children?" someone asked. "What if it is sent from enemies to destroy us?" another said. A murmur of fear rippled through the crowd. Then, from the edge of the gathering, an old woman stepped forward. Her back was bent, and her hair was white as cotton. Her name was Mama Ebere, the oldest widow in Umuaka, known for her strange visions. She raised a trembling finger. "That thing is no ordinary spirit. It is a container, a vessel. It carries something inside, something hungry." The villagers gasped. "What do you mean, Mama?" Chief Obieze asked. Her eyes glowed strangely in the firelight. Her eyes swept across them, then rested on Adanna. The old woman's gaze lingered, and her lips trembled as she whispered, "It has already been chosen." Adanna's heart nearly stopped. She staggered back, shaking her head. "No, no!" But deep down she knew it was true. That night, the whispers came again, louder than before. "Adanna, you cannot hide." She covered her ears, tears streaming down her face. But when she opened her eyes, she screamed. The mannequin was inside her room. It stood at the corner, its pale face gleaming faintly in the moonlight that slipped through the cracks of the hut. Its head was tilted, its hollow eyes fixed on her. Her brothers slept on, undisturbed, as if under a spell. Her voice caught in her throat, too weak to call for her parents. She felt her body grow heavy, as if invisible ropes were binding her to the mat. The mannequin's mouth moved slowly, cracking open like dry wood. No sound came out, but in her mind she heard the words clearly. "Come with me." She shut her eyes, praying desperately. When she opened them again, the corner was empty, but she knew it had not been a dream. By morning, her face was pale, her eyes heavy with fear. Chiamaka noticed as they went to fetch firewood together. "Adanna, you look sick," Chiamaka said softly. I shook my head. "I saw it in my room." "What?" "It was there, watching me. It spoke to me without a voice." "Chiamaka, I think it wants me." Her friend grabbed her arm. "Then we must leave this village, run away." Adanna looked at her with hollow eyes. "Where can I run to? It will follow me. Mama Ebere said it has already been chosen. That means it will not stop until it takes me." As they walked back, they heard shouting in the distance. Villagers were running toward the well, crying out. Another child was gone. This time it was Obinna, a boy of 10. His mother wailed by the water's edge, clutching his empty calabash. The whispers in the crowd grew darker. "It feeds on our children. It will not stop." Adanna stood frozen, her skin crawling. She felt a chill at the back of her neck, as if someone or something was standing right behind her. Slowly, she turned. There it was. The mannequin stood at the edge of the well, towering over the grieving mother. Its head was tilted, its pale face smooth and empty, yet its presence radiated hunger. And though no one else seemed to hear, Adanna heard the words again in her head. "You are mine." Her knees weakened. She almost fell. But in that moment, something stirred inside her, a small flame of courage. She clenched her fists. If the mannequin wanted her, then she needed to know why. She could not keep running in fear. That night, while the village trembled and prayed, Adanna made a decision. She would go back to the market. She would face the mannequin alone. The moon hung low in the sky, half hidden behind drifting clouds. The wind carried strange whispers through the palm trees, and the night birds cried in the distance. Adanna slipped quietly out of her family's hut. She had told no one of her plan, not even Chiamaka. If her parents knew, they would lock her inside, but she could not hide any longer. Her bare feet padded silently on the cool earth as she made her way toward the market square. Each step felt heavier than the last, as though unseen hands tried to pull her back. The village was silent, the huts dark. Even the dogs did not bark. When she reached the edge of the market, she stopped. Her heart thudded in her chest like a drum. There it was. The mannequin. It stood in the middle of the empty square, bathed in pale moonlight. Its head was tilted as always, its hollow eyes fixed in her direction. Its body was so still, yet it radiated a presence so heavy that Adanna felt her breath shorten. The air smelled of dust and something rotten, as if the ground itself feared what stood upon it. Her lips trembled, but she forced herself to speak. "Why me?" she whispered. The mannequin did not move, but in her head a voice hissed, "Because you are mine."
Her skin prickled. She took another step forward, fists clenched. "What do you want from me?" The mannequin's mouth creaked open, a long, dry sound like wood splitting. No words came out, but the voice inside her skull grew louder. "Life." Her blood ran cold. "Your life, your breath, your body." Adanna staggered back, shaking her head violently. "No, you cannot have me!" The mannequin's head tilted further, almost unnaturally, until it looked as though its neck would snap. Its hollow eyes darkened, and suddenly its arms moved. They rose slowly, jerky, stiff but deliberate, stretching toward her. Adanna screamed and turned to run, but the earth beneath her seemed to shift. The stalls and sheds warped and stretched, the square twisting like a nightmare. Her legs grew heavy, and though she ran, she did not move forward. The mannequin was behind her now. She could feel its cold breath on her neck, though it had no lungs. "Adanna, you cannot run." She fell to the ground, trembling. The shadows around her seemed to come alive, writhing like snakes. From the corners of the square, pale hands emerged from the soil, thin, bony, reaching toward her ankles. She cried out, kicking wildly. The hands clawed at her legs, pulling her down. She could smell the earth, damp and foul, as if it wanted to swallow her whole. Then, just as the mannequin shadow loomed over her, a sudden sound broke through the night, a sharp clap of wood striking wood. "Adanna!" She opened her eyes. Umuaka stood at the edge of the square, holding 2 pieces of palm wood crossed together like a weapon. She was shaking, but her eyes were fierce. "Get away from her!" The mannequin froze. Its head turned toward Umuaka. For a long, tense moment, the whole square was silent, as if even the air was waiting. Then slowly, the mannequin lowered its arms. The shadow shrank back into the ground. Its mouth closed with a soft crack. It stood still again, motionless, lifeless, as if it had never moved at all. Adanna gasped for air, tears streaming down her cheeks. She crawled toward her friend, clinging to her. "Umuaka, it almost... "I know," she whispered, holding her tightly. "I knew you would try something foolish. I followed you." Adanna looked back at the mannequin. It stood where it had been, pale and silent, but she could still feel its eyes drilling into her soul. That night, the 2 girls returned home shaken but alive. Adanna did not tell her parents, but she knew one thing for certain. The mannequin was no longer waiting. It was hunting, and it would not stop until it had her. The next morning, the village woke to a terrible sight. The mannequin was no longer in the market square. It was standing in front of Adanna's hut.
The morning sun rose gently over Umuaka, painting the sky gold. Birds chirped in the distance, but their songs carried no cheer. The villagers gathered in hushed fear, for there it stood, tall, pale, and unmoving. The mannequin was at Adanna's doorstep. Its smooth white skin glistened in the sunlight. Its hollow eyes stared at the mud walls of her hut, and its head was tilted slightly, just as always. Women wailed, children clutched their mothers, the men of the village whispered among themselves, afraid to go near. "This thing wants her," one man muttered. "It is Adanna it came for," another whispered. Adanna stepped outside slowly, her knees weak. Her mother grabbed her arm, trembling. "Don't go near it. Stay inside." But Adanna could feel it, deep inside her chest, the pull. Its silent voice hummed in her head, louder than ever. "You are mine." Chief Obieze arrived with his staff, his face lined with fear. "This cannot continue. If it has chosen the girl, then we must protect her. We will call for the Dibia. Only he can tell us what spirit we are fighting." The villagers nodded, though their voices quivered. The Dibia, Okafor, lived on the edge of the village. He was a tall man with piercing eyes and scars across his cheeks, known for his knowledge of charms and spirits. When he was summoned, he walked slowly into the square, a bag of cowrie shells and herbs slung over his shoulder. He circled the mannequin, muttering incantations, sprinkling white chalk powder on the ground. The villagers watched, holding their breath. Then, suddenly, the mannequin's head turned toward him. Okafor stopped mid-step. Sweat broke across his forehead. He raised his hand, shaking a rattle made of bones, and shouted words that no one understood. The air grew heavy, thick, as though the very earth held its breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the rattle in Okafor's hand cracked in two. The villagers gasped. Okafor staggered back, eyes wide with terror. This is no ordinary spirit. It is older, stronger. It is crossed from a place where the dead and the living mix, and it will not leave unless it takes what it wants. "What does it want?" Adanna's father shouted, his voice shaking. Okafor's eyes fell on Adanna. Her. A cry broke from Adanna's mother, and she fell to the ground wailing. The villagers murmured in fear. That night, the mannequin moved again. It left Adanna's hut and appeared at the center of the village square. Around midnight, the dogs began to bark furiously, their howls filling the air. One by one, the animals went silent. In the morning, they were all found dead, lying in the dust with eyes wide open, their bodies cold. Whispers spread quickly. "It is angry. It is preparing for something." Adanna felt herself growing weaker each day. Her skin paled, her eyes sunk deeper, and her body shook with chills. The whispers in her mind grew louder. "Come, Adanna, come to me." She fought it, but sometimes, in the dead of night, she found herself standing outside her hut without knowing how she had gotten there. Each time, the mannequin was near, waiting. On the fourth night, something even worse happened. Jamaka came to sleep beside Adanna, hoping to keep her company. The girls held hands, whispering prayers until sleep took them. But in the middle of the night, Jamaka awoke to the sound of wood scraping the floor. Her eyes snapped open. The mannequin was inside the hut. It stood at the foot of Adanna's mat, its hollow eyes fixed on her sleeping face. Its mouth opened slowly, and though no sound came, Jamaka felt the air vibrate with a terrible whisper. "She is mine." Jamaka screamed, shaking Adanna awake. The hut filled with chaos, her parents rushing in, brothers crying. But the mannequin was gone, vanished, as if it had never been there. The village could no longer deny it. The mannequin was not just haunting Umuaka, it was growing stronger. The council gathered once more, their voices filled with despair. "Shall we send the girl away?" one man suggested. "If it is her it wants, let her leave the village." "No," Adanna's father thundered. "I will not sacrifice my daughter." "But what of the rest of us?" another villager argued. "Must we all perish for her sake?" The room erupted in fearful debate. Some wanted Adanna banished, others demanded the mannequin destroyed, though no one dared touch it again. Amid the chaos, Adanna stood silently, for deep in her heart she knew the truth. She could not run. The mannequin would follow her wherever she went. There was only one way to end this curse. She had to face it. As the council argued, she clenched her fists, her eyes burning with a mixture of fear and determination. If she did nothing, the mannequin would destroy everyone she loved. But if she went to it willingly, perhaps she could discover what it truly was. That night, as the moon climbed high, Adanna rose quietly from her mat. She took a deep breath, then stepped out into the night. The mannequin was waiting in the square, bathed in silver moonlight, and for the first time, Adanna walked toward it.
The moon shone bright that night, a pale silver eye watching over Umuaka. The wind hissed through the palm trees, carrying the smell of dust and something sharp, like burning. Adanna stood in the village square, her bare feet planted firmly on the cool earth. Her hands trembled, but she held her chin high. The mannequin stood before her, silent, its head tilted, its hollow eyes drinking her in. The air felt heavy, pressing down on her chest. Her heart pounded like a drum. "You," the whisper crawled inside her head. "Tonight, you are mine." The mannequin's arms rose stiffly, reaching for her. Shadows writhed across the ground like snakes, stretching toward her feet. The earth trembled softly beneath her toes, as if opening to swallow her whole. Adanna's lips quivered, but she spoke, her voice shaking. "If you want me, then take me, but leave my people alone." The mannequin froze, its head tilting further. Then it began to move, not walking, not gliding, but jerking forward in unnatural steps, each movement like wood snapping. Its hollow eyes grew darker, swallowing the moonlight. Adanna's body screamed at her to run, but she stood her ground. Behind her, she could hear faint voices, villagers who had followed quietly. They whispered in fear, hiding in the shadows, afraid to come closer. She knew her parents, Chiamaka, and even Chief Obioze were among them. They were all watching, praying. The mannequin reached her. Its cold shadow fell over her body. Its long, pale fingers stretched forward, brushing her arm. The touch was icy, burning through her skin. Adanna gasped, her knees weakening. She felt something pulling at her soul, dragging her out of her body. Darkness rushed around her, and she saw flashes. Ngozi, the missing girl, screaming in a void of shadows. Obina, the boy, reaching out with terrified eyes. Countless others, their faces pale, trapped in darkness. The mannequin whispered, louder than ever, "Give yourself. Join them. Forever." Tears spilled down Adanna's cheeks. She almost surrendered, almost let go, until she heard her mother's voice from the shadows. "Adanna, remember who you are. Remember whose child you are." Strength surged in her chest. She remembered her father's firm hands, her mother's gentle songs, Chiamaka's laughter, the warmth of the village fires. She clenched her fists and screamed with every ounce of her being, "No, I do not belong to you." The mannequin recoiled, its hollow eyes flickering like dying flames. The shadows writhed violently, shrieking like trapped spirits. Adanna fell to her knees, but pressed her hands firmly into the earth, crying out, "This is my land! These are my people! You cannot take me!" Her voice rang out like thunder. Something deep beneath the earth seemed to answer. The ground shook, and a burst of warm light erupted around her, spreading in a circle. The mannequin shrieked, a sound that ripped through the night, though it had no mouth. Its body cracked, splintering like dry wood. The hollow eyes shattered, releasing streams of dark smoke that twisted and howled before dissolving into the air. From the broken mannequin, figures spilled out. Ngozi, Obina, and others the village thought lost. They fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Alive! The villagers cried out in shock and joy. Mothers rushed to gather their children. Fathers wept openly. The mannequin's body crumbled to the ground, its pale shell shattering into pieces of lifeless wood. The wind carried the fragments away, like dust, scattering them into nothing. The square grew silent. Adanna lay on the ground, weak, trembling. Then she felt arms around her, her mother, weeping and kissing her face, her father holding her hand tightly. Chiamaka knelt beside her, smiling through tears. "You did it! You beat it!" Adanna managed a small smile. Her body was weak, but her spirit burned stronger than ever. Chief Obiose raised his staff high. "The curse has been broken. The evil has been cast out. All hail the courage of Adanna, the daughter of Umuaka." The villagers cheered, their voices rising to the heavens. They danced, clapped, and sang songs of victory. The market square, once silent and haunted, filled with life again. From that day forward, the story of Adanna spread. Songs were made of her bravery, and children grew up learning her tale. Whenever fear tried to creep into the hearts of Umuaka, the people reminded themselves of the night Adanna faced the evil mannequin and freed her people. And Adanna herself? She grew stronger, wiser, and kinder. She knew darkness would always try to find a way into the world. But she also knew that courage, love, and faith were stronger than any spirit of fear. The mannequin never returned. Its whispers faded into memory, and Umuaka lived in peace once more. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.